Most of our viewers are migraine sufferers. Many women which I have interacted with, they suffer silently. They think and they call itself as motherhood. They call it as sacrifice of being a woman. Some also experience chronic migraines during this phase. What is really going on emotionally and how a woman can come out beautifully from all these pain and sickness which is suffering silently?
Postpartum depression is not just for mothers. There are men also who go through depression, right? So we need to consider both aspects. When I delivered my son in 2009, I went through a severe postpartum phase for almost a year, and that was like a big, big door. It was like a portal. That's how I explain it.
How does a person identifies herself or himself as having depressive state or as having depressive symptoms?
A Monday morning that I was supposed to do the workshop for that entire week, I was supposed to be there. I just suddenly could not talk. I was trying to, you know, talk, but voice was not coming out. When we get a cancer, when we are affected by a chronic disease from a
Yes.
physical aspect, we are not ashamed of it. We go to the doctor and consult and see what needs to be done. But when the same thing happens for our mind, suddenly a lot of new narratives pop in and the shame just takes hold. So now I see depression as an ally who has come for a coffee, who wants me to really know something about myself. I'm not scared of the depression anymore.
Most of my Instagram followers, there are like lakhs of people who come to my videos and come to my chats and tell me that you get us. You really get to the deep issue. You have known our pain. You can understand our suffering. But my neurologist told that it is migraine. I've seen multiple doctors, I've seen multiple people, and I've tried multiple methods, and nothing seems to work. So this is my fate, and I will just sit here, cry, moan. And even when I put a meme like, if I put a face to the migraine or the chronic pains they're suffering, they'll start abusing, they'll start telling all sort of things that I hate you and I don't want you in my life. But I feel that kind of a resistance in most of the people who don't want to take a first step of knowing themselves, or understanding the pain or the root cause of pain, what it is happening from. Where does this resistance actually come from? Or also, one more question in addition to this is, we know that healing is a process which requires a lot of discomfort. But in our world, people looking for quick fixes. People try putting salt in, lime tea and drinking for curing their pain. People try all sort of magic bands and voodoo things, and some balms and whatever things which can. And I get like hundreds of messages daily asking me, how give me a home remedy which can, like, just like a snapshot, it can shift the pain or erase the pain. You have something like that, I am ready to take it, however cost I would suffer. So what do you have to say for people who think that healing is an easier process or getting out of the pain is a quick fix method? What is the truth?
So we are in a world today where everything is quick fix. You know, um, there is no more me sending letter to you through England and you sending letter to me because WhatsApp. It is a quick way of connecting with each other. If I feel sad right now because of somebody told me something, I will immediately take Instagram and go through 10 reels. That will take me out of my
uh,
sadness.
to add with that, I think Instagram is coming up with an auto scroll option that we don't even have to scroll it. After one reel, it will again show the next reel, so that we just have to stay idle, so that it is just an
Oh
instant
God.
gratification. And
Yes, it's an instant gratification. So, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, even minutely about something,
yeah,
I have this option right now to immediately go and start looking at reels. In 30 seconds, I'm so disconnected with my body.
yeah.
I'm so disconnected with my reality in life that I'm taken to some other la la land, through reels. And I'm consumed by it. The 3 minutes become 30 minutes, the 30 minutes become 3 hours. My time is already consumed. So somewhere we are all, whether it is addiction to porn, addiction um, from a substance point, drugs or drinking, or addiction in overthinking. That is also an addiction within our body.
Yes.
Right. So all these addictions are a convenient way of passively solving for the issue, not actively solving for the issue. Right. So what happens is, somewhere today we are caught up in a world where instant gratification is so glorified that we are losing the touch of the reality. So, what does this mean to the here and now for all of us, whether it is migraine or the depression, or anybody who's going through any issue where there is lack of awareness there about their own body and mind? This would mean that they are not comfortable with anything that requires long term effort, anything that would need them to go step by step as a process. They're not comfortable because the world is telling them there is a quick solution for everything.
Okay.
So mind automatically is pulled towards that. Second is sitting with your problem, observing yourself, understanding your inner world require you to endure pain,
Oh,
require you to contain your um, contain your pain by looking at what all lies you're telling yourself,
okay.
what all convenient narratives that you have been. Why is life happening this way to me? How can life do this to me? It is going to be supremely difficult for me to sit and ask myself, why am I playing a victim? Why would life want to punish me first? Right? It is not, life is not a
Cruel.
sadist,
Yeah, that is
sadist
true.
to want to punish me. When, crores of people are there in this world, am I even taking a second to look at life here and here to say, yeah, everybody is going through something. So I'm not a victim of love. Then why am I having this narrative that poor me, why is life happening to me? It takes a lot to sit with that question and look at our own ugliness. Because we would all like to believe the problem is with the world.
Yeah.
I am a nice person. I don't have any problem. The problem is with you. If you correct yourself, my life will be happy. So
Yeah.
I want my in-laws to change, my kids to change, my husband to change, my parents to change. If they all change, my life will be happy. But I have nothing to change. I'm such a good human being. That is the narrative that we would all like to carry. It is so easy to believe in this way that it takes a lot of effort to actually go within and stay with that question of, where am I sabotaging? Where am I spoiling my own life because of my own attitude, my own beliefs, my own stories within me?
Okay.
And that effort is something that everybody would like to avoid. We would rather stay in the illusion than break the illusion. Um, Second, when this happens, there is no proper guidance that we generally get. The Unfortunately, the world that we are in, the um, um, ratio between the people who are seeking healing and the people who can give proper guidance for the healing in the mental health space is not even matching. So many people end up getting in spaces where it becomes yet another space for being manipulated. It becomes yet another space for inculcating fear in them. It becomes yet another space for reinforcing their own existing belief,
Yes.
whether it is about God, authority, religion, um, respect. It is yet another space that reinforces their current beliefs.
Yep.
So many times people do not know how to self heal. And that becomes a big problem because my life would have been much okay if I had been ignorant. But suddenly now, when I start becoming aware, life is even worse because I don't know how to handle many problems that are coming my way. So people end up choosing ignorance as a convenient way because at least they're in ignorance. But once you start becoming aware, it becomes even more difficult. For example, it is like, let's say, a riverbed, and you're just watching the water. Let's not river, let's say pond,
Yeah.
and the water is settled. It is not moving. Suddenly, you're shaking up that water.
Churning is happening. Yeah.
All the mud and the
Will
stones,
come up.
small stones will come up. there is dirt happening. It will go back and settle in different spaces. The minute stone, small stone from here may go here. Mud that came from here may go here or get dissolved. We don't know. But something will have to, really get churned, shaken up, and then go back and settle down. We have to allow this process.
Oh.
If we don't allow this process, we will not be able to go through the awareness and heal. So the lack of understanding of how to go about this process also creates a lot of fear, because it's a fear of unknown. And third is, healing is not a one-time journey. It is not a tick mark. I can never say, "Oh, I fully arrived. Now I'm fully aware about myself." No, it is a dance between our light and darkness. It is a dance between our awareness and lack of awareness. We need to allow enough space for that to come into the, into the awareness and in life. So every person would need to become a teacher. If I'm having a problem with 5 people in my life, I need to start looking at, is there a pattern in my problem with all these 5 people? Then it means the problem is with me. It is not about them. Right? How can I have the same problem with 5 people outside of, right? And that is where we start to understand these aspects. So it is a never ending journey. But many times, because of the quick fix world we are in, I have many conversations that I experience with my own clients. The moment they get to become aware of an issue, they will say, "By when will I solve this?
Yeah.
By in 1 month, will I be able to get out of this?" No, that's not how it works.
And they might
I
be
wish
suffering since 20 years now.
Correct.
Hmm.
So 30, 35 years you have lived in a certain, well,
Hmm.
in certain way, in a certain house. Now you want to shift that house. It's going to take time. First of all, you need to figure out what kind of house you want. Own house, if you are going to own that house, it is about rebuilding from the scratch in the way you would want.
Yeah.
It is going to take time. You're going to unlearn what you have learned in 35 years.
And
How
it's a
can you
painful process.
And how can you expect that for you to do it in like 1 week or 1 month or 1 year?
Yes.
So that's the second part of it. Third is, uh, even if they get a methodology to work around it, the passive way will make them keep going back to the question, "But I don't know how to do. Can you help? I don't know how to do. Can you help me?" So let's say if we are suggesting somebody to go through meditation,
Okay.
just observe your breath and meditate. They may do everything. They will not take that 15 seconds or 1 minute to meditate in.
Okay.
All right. Probably when they observe their breath and meditate, even for 10 seconds, even for 1 minute, something may come to their awareness. But in order to avoid it, conveniently now they will again go through a passive approach of, "I'm so busy. I have to take care of this. I have to take care of this. How will I sit and take care of my, meditation process?" So somehow our ego, survival ego, will do everything to avoid the discomfort. But there is no change that you can bring in your life without going through discomfort. You have to learn how to coexist with discomfort. That is the only way to bring in.
And in relation to with this thing which we just discussed, most of our viewers will have this question in mind that at least some of them have observed their life falls in certain patterns, that they have repeated toxic relationships, repeated business failures, repeated people coming to their life and stealing their money. And some of them have observed it, some of them might not have observed it. What is the lesson that they need to take, or what is the one step that they can take if something is happening repeatedly in their lives? Maybe even I've seen cases where multiple deaths are happening in the family, or multiple divorces are happening, multiple relationship issues are happening. And when we get into the depth of the story, the inner text or the inner context is the same in every incident. So how do you define that?
This is such a layered question. It is very difficult to get into all the nuances of it in one conversation or in a
But
short
can
conversation.
you just
And at a very
simplify
high
it?
level, yeah,
Yeah.
at a very high level, based on the um, beliefs that we picked up in the first 8 years of our love, and based on the behaviors or tendencies or a sense of wanting to survive in this world that we have picked up in the first 15 years of our life, we start creating patterns. So what do we mean by a pattern? Repeated reinforcing behavior that we show up with in our life, in our inner world and in the outer world. That
Okay.
is a pattern.
Okay.
For some people, the pattern will be connected to money.
Uh-huh.
Overtly spending or overtly saving, not being able to enjoy what needs to be enjoyed with money,
Okay.
or constantly worrying about the money, or constantly chasing money at the cost of everything else.
Yeah.
Some sort of a difficult relation. For each person, it will be different. But something about the relationship with money will be not healthy.
Okay.
That could be the pattern. For someone else, it could be connected to their physical body, not eating healthy, not allowing themselves to be joyful, not allowing themselves to feel physically, uh, fit,
Fit. Yeah.
something around that. For some people, it could be related to romantic relationships or sexual relationships, some sort of a belief or connection with sexuality, with relationships, um, constantly getting into a breakup, or constantly cheating the partner, or constantly, in the name of loyalty, suffering in the space, constantly feeling I am adjusting for everyone, nobody adjusts for me,
Okay.
kind of a narrative. So, some pattern there with relationships. Um, some people may have connection with or pattern related to um, mm, becoming famous, fame and success. Some, high points and low points, which they feel beyond their understanding. But that is happening in a very strong way in their life. So whenever this happens, I always go back to Carl Jung's quote, which is one of my favorite quotes. That is, if you don't bring unconscious to conscious, it will drive your life and you will call it fate. And that is what this is about.
Okay.
Right? So some sort of an effort will have to be put in order to understand the conscious, unconsciousness. How can this be done? Today, there are apps to help us. Today, there are spaces to help us. I still feel, the ratio is still not matching. However, even an intention of, I want to know what I don't know about myself, that itself is a great place to start. Meditation is a fantastic way of getting into this awareness because it will help you to get still, cut out all the noise around you, and start becoming aware of what is really going on within you by witnessing your inner world. And as you get into that space, your breath is a free tool within you. You don't need to pay anyone. You just need to keep observing your breath and understand a lot about yourself. But it is just a upcoming space which is yet to become fully popular like psychotherapy. But in the next 10 years, breathwork is going to really take over in bringing awareness into the world. Right. So somewhere you need to figure out by testing multiple spaces. I know some women who get into spaces of 5 women coming every day and sitting and meditating, or 5 women coming and chanting something. Um, there are men who just go for walk and just talk about go just talk about what they are going through, or some people coming together irrespective of the gender and exploring whether they can get somebody from outside to talk to them about all this. So you can figure out with you and with your circle, is there a way to create some sort of a space where you can start understanding about all this? Become curious about the life you are living. Become curious about the world you are living in. A lot of material is available online today. Start understanding. If you can't afford to pay, start understanding what are the ways to overcome your own beliefs. Is there a way to increase your self awareness? There are materials available, and if you actively want to solve for it, there is always a path that will open up in front of you. And that is the key here.
Yeah. Profound.
But at the end of it, only you can solve your problem. You are your own rescuer. Do not sit in the fantasy for the rest of your life believing that somebody is going to rescue you, including your doctor.
Yeah.
They can only guide you, they cannot rescue you. So if your therapist or your doctor, migraine doctor, psychological doctor, psychologist, anybody is guiding you saying, sit with your pain, endure your pain by sitting with in meditation. When you feel jealous, do not immediately go and act on something or go for shopping or go on Instagram. Understand what the jealous is about. Understand what that anger is about, what shame is about. We still have to do the work. Nobody else can do it for us. And that is the hardest truth to digest.
For being responsible for oneself.
Yes.
That is the
Own
hardest part.
yourself.
Like
Own yourself is the
accountable.
mantra.
Yeah.
Own yourself is the mantra. If you own yourself, you'll be able to co-create a life with the universe based on your terms because you're taking responsibility for your own self. Otherwise, life will have its own way of playing with you.
Thank you. Uh, we have spoken a lot of childhood trauma and the emotional traumatic experiences a person might have gone through. Sometimes when I talk to people, they always tell me, most of the listeners would, agree with this thing, that I don't remember a big incident which traumatized me. I don't remember any big thing which happened in my life which shook me. And, can you explain, are there something called as silent traumas in childhood, or will they affect the, adult nervous system, or can it bring in physical pains in the body later on? Because when I go through the life space, for some people, I see a particular incident which has, shaken them pretty well. But for other people, they just tell me that no, it's all like it's okay, a normal life I've led, and I've never had a childhood traumatic experience. So uh, how do you explain to that patient or person who is suffering from chronic pain that this can root out from the childhood trauma, which was a silent issue in their life?
Okay, so to start with, we need to let go of all the imprints and notions of what trauma should look like. I hear many of clients saying, but compared to some other people I know in
Yeah.
my life, I've never gone through anything.
Yes.
No, we are not here to compare our lives with others.
Yes.
Like how our fingerprints are so unique. The life that we have lived is also so unique. And we are not here to compare the intensity of the trauma.
Yeah.
So to start with, let go of all the imprints of how trauma should look like and how intense it should be. And only if this happens, then it is a trauma. That is a definition we have to reframe to start with.
Yeah.
Second is, let me give you a very basic example here. Let's say in childhood, uh, by mistake, I touched the fire. And when I touch the fire, automatically, that kind of a sound will come
Yes.
out of my body. But let's say somebody really closes my mouth at that point of time, and this particular sound is not coming out of, but the the touching of the fire has happened as an experience. So here, what happens is, look at it as this particular what was supposed to come out of my body at that point of time, because it is forced to suppress. Now it has become a knot in the body. Now I have gone through 5 such different experiences where every time somebody has, shut my mouth, and every time I could not express what I had to express, all those have become knots. By the time I'm 30 years old, there are so many such knots in my body. And what does it do? At some point, body cannot take these knots anymore. It will start coming out as illness. Because there is so much we have suppressed in the body. These illness, they are not here to punish us. They're not here to pull us down. They're not here to test us. They are here to help us understand there are some knots in your body that you need to open. And it's about time to open. And generally, it happens during the midlife crisis time because that's how life is designed. At that point of time, instead of saying, oh, I don't have any knots in my body, instead of saying, there are knots, but I don't think it is necessary to open it, or to say, I don't have time to open those knots. If we respect ourselves, if we respect our own body, if we decide to honor our own life and decide to open up these knots one step at a time. One knot could be an anger, one knot could be a sadness, one knot could be a shame, one knot could be a lust that is suppressed, one knot could be a guilt. Suddenly we will start becoming aware how many knots are there in our body. So any illness is nothing but an expression that didn't have space to go to
Come
or
on.
be seen and heard at some point in childhood. It is our job to bring it out when we become aware of. So it is like this. What happened in your childhood was not your responsibility. It happened beyond your control. You were just a child. But your healing in adulthood is your responsibility. Becoming aware of yourself is your responsibility. You cannot keep becoming the prisoner of your past, victim of the trauma, and you cannot hold that as a reason to run away from the possibility of healing today. And that is where we need to take immense responsibility of these knots in the body. So imagine when I'm coming to you as a patient, I'm not going to remember if there are 100 knots in my body,
Yeah.
in my awareness. I'm not even going to remember how these 100 knots came because we have lived a life of like 30, 35 years. But the faith that I need to put in this or in the process is I may have knots with or without my awareness. I'm willing to become aware of it and do something about it.
As a faculty for our Maitri program, our wellness retreat for migraine patients, you have closely interacted with our, migraine community. What stands out to you about the emotional landscape of patients who are suffering from chronic pains?
Um, I see some patterns there. There are some common behaviors or something that stand out. Many people, to start with, they do not even have vocabulary for their pain. It's like how we first do not have a vocabulary for our own emotions. For
Okay.
example, in the beginning stage, when we ask the patients, how do you feel? Not good. What do you mean by not good? Not okay. What do you mean by not okay? I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Because there is lack of vocabulary. There is no capacity or awareness or vocabulary to say, I feel sad. I feel angry. I
Is it
feel,
due to the lack of knowledge or lack of awareness?
to start with, it is lack of knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, because awareness doesn't come on its own, right?
Okay.
So it first starts with knowledge, then it leads to awareness. Then knowledge you're applying it for yourself becomes awareness.
Okay.
So first you are learning, these are alphabets. Over time, you're learning to use it as a language to communicate, right?
Yes.
Similarly, first you're seeing, okay, there are these emotions, sadness, anger, shame, guilt, disappointed, um, jealous, all these emotions are there. Now you're bringing it to yourself saying, what am I feeling in this space? So the emotional vocabulary itself is not there because of lack of knowledge to start. So because of this, there is no vocabulary to even explain their pain. That's a first starting point of it. Second is because of the um, constant judgment of their pain, where they are not able to see the pattern in their pain, or they are not able to uh, believe that they're not making this pain up. It is actually happening in their body. And the way that the others criticize them, saying, "Oh, it is all in your head." I don't think this is a big deal. Normally, I mean, all of us have a headache. Why do you need to make this a big deal?
Yeah.
Then they come up with these kind of dialogues. Somewhere a lot of self-doubt is happening to say, probably I'm making it all in my head. It is not a real thing. So the second part of it is, with the lack of vocabulary, now there is also lack of doubt as to, I don't know whether I'm hallucinating, whether I'm really have some issue or I'm trying to make it up. So here the point is, you're not making it up. You are not going to create something like this for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Can you trust your body that if it is bringing up a pain, it is actually trying to tell you something? We need to work with the body. instead of discounting your body. So that's the second part of it, where massive discounting of their own body, their own pain, with the lack of vocabulary and knowledge. That is the second aspect of the
Yes.
landscape. Third aspect that I see is probably because of they're tired of explaining this and tired of trying to make others understand.
That's the most
They are
difficult part.
they are done with it now. So even if as a doctor you ask a question, even if as a
Therapist.
psychotherapist or coach you are asking a question, he snap. He snap at the person saying, how many times would I need to explain this? I don't think you're going to get it. I don't think it is any point to even explain it to you. Nobody's going to get it. So in a way, they are giving upon themselves. They are discounting the capacity of their own doctors, their own whoever even want to help, willing to help. They are discounting, taking their gift, taking their support in the space because they have given up on themselves. It is like, teenage kids, and I'm sure we would have also done it in our teenage
Yeah.
years. Where in teenage there is a very strong attribute that comes in. It is, I don't want to explain. I don't care. Even if I explain, nobody's going to get it. That kind of attitude will come.
Yeah.
It is a rebellious attitude that will happen in the patients because they are sick of adapting to it. Right? And this is coming from a space of giving up hope. This is coming from a space of giving up on self. And this is coming from a space of, I'm not getting a quick answer, so I'm not going to trust the long answer.
Yeah.
If you can't give me something that can solve it in 1 month, I'm not going to cooperate with you to solve it for 10 years because how can I trust you? So they come from a lack of trust. So anything that you say, instead of thinking from a space of where are they coming from? Why would they say it? What is their intention to help me out? They come from a space of, oh, I don't have that kind of a problem at all. I already have migraine now. You don't add more problems in my life by saying all this.
Mm.
No, our intent is not to add more problems. But unless you become aware of this, unless you learn alphabets, you cannot write a novel.
Yeah.
Similarly, unless you learn your basic foundational aspects, you cannot solve for this. And it is important that they become open to it, but they are closed when they come into the space because they believe that because of the pain they are carrying, they should hear only what they want to hear and not anything outside. That is another landscape, part of the landscape. The last one that I see is you asked me whether it is lack of knowledge or ignorance, right?
Awareness. Yeah.
Awareness, right? Rejecting something without even knowing is the worst form of ignorance. I don't even know where you're coming from when you're suggesting something to me. Can I ask 10 questions to you to understand about it rather than rejecting, saying, oh, this is not going to work for me? So that sense of need for rejection because of some fear, without knowing what that fear is about, immediately jumping and closing it. They may go to 10 doctors to try the same solution rather than going deep with one doctor and fully trying it out in all aspects. So these are the landscapes that I see.
Thank you. And talking about the hopelessness, I see you often talk about suicidal thoughts, postpartum depression, what are all shitty emotional experiences that you had right from your childhood. Coming up, I mean, growing up in a family of an Orthodox Brahmin community, how do you even afford to talk out these things to other human beings? It's actually quite inspiring, but how will that even inspire other people to come out with their pains?
So this, I think, came from a space of, at some point in my life, I had this awareness. I don't know where it came from, but there was this wisdom that others do not define my life. I am here to define my life. So as much as I was trying to please people and avoiding conflict, the wisdom also existed that I need to do what I'm here for in this life. that wisdom coexisted with my ego. And hence, somewhere I was always comfortable in questioning certain convenient narratives of the society. For example, I have never understood the gender conversation. Man, woman, in Palakkad, how in those years, we would never be allowed to talk to opposite gender. Even if I talk to one boy, in 10 minutes, somebody would have told my folks and
Wow.
family,
Yeah.
oh, she was talking to somebody there. I've never understood that part because in my mind, we're all here in this world to live life together. I need to join a job where I need to talk to all genders. I need to lead them. I need to be their leader. I need to guide them. If I'm not comfortable talking to genders, different genders, if I'm not building that confidence in childhood, how can I suddenly build that confidence in front of a opposite gender person suddenly when I join an organization as a 21-year-old? So these kind of narratives I've never been able to understand from childhood. Fortunately for me, I never paid attention to the noises on this. And hence, there was an innate understanding that I will talk about what matters to me. And what matters to me has always been I come from a lineage of mental illness. My grandfather had severe mental illness. And I've seen how the world has dealt with it. I have seen how the world has mocked, uh, you know, people with uh, low
Forget
EQ,
issues. Yeah.
people with psychiatric issues, people
Issues.
with mental illness. And I've always wondered, how does that work? Just because you are not in that illness doesn't mean you can mock others with that illness,
Ridicule. Yeah.
because you have no idea what the other person is going through. And hence, what is the right we have to mock others on these lines? I think somewhere because of my parental lineage, I got the wisdom that I'm here to become a voice of mental illness. Um, and as part of that lineage, call it DNA, call it
Yeah.
generator,
Genetics.
just solid genetics, whatever could be the, no, generative and genetics, it could be
Yes. Yes.
both,
Mm.
right? Whatever could be the reason. Spiritually, somebody says, oh, there is a curse in your family. Okay, so be it. Whatever could be the case, in my body, I'm in that lineage, I'm in this world to take the pain and to give a visibility to that pain. I might as well talk about. So this is another understanding that happened. Similarly, I'm very passionate about, I've always been passionate about supporting LGBTIQ space. Uh, I don't think we still understand anything about sexuality. We think sexuality is sex, but sexuality has a big spiritual connotation to it.
Yeah.
For example, migraine, one of the reasons from a body aspect could be lack of sex, right, along with many other reasons. So when we start connecting the physical body with the mental illness, physical body with all the diseases that we go through, suddenly there are many topics that are going to come to our awareness, which is heavily stigmatized in the world.
Okay.
If we are, if we have the intent to solve for it, going back to my point of, if there is a problem and we want to solve for it, you go through an active road or you go through a passive road. My active road is don't worry about the world and talk about it. So it didn't matter whether what background I came from, what conservative space it was. It didn't matter what caste or religion I came from. Nothing mattered. What mattered was more people need to know about this issue. It doesn't matter how I'm perceived. I'm going to talk about it. The buck stops at me.
That gives a lot of encouragement and inspiration to our viewers, of course.
Thank you.
Right. Uh, Most of the people suffering from chronic pains often complain that I am getting habituated with this pain. I am fine with this pain, but more pain comes when people judge me, calling a migraine that is just a headache, why you are showing it up, and the ridicule of the people and the avoidance of people telling that, oh, you are a migraine patient, you are a, you have pain all the time, you are not good for this, you can't travel with us. So what do you have to tell those bystanders or caregivers or spouses who live along with people who are having chronic pain?
Oh, this is a very tricky aspect because,
Because most of our viewers would love you to talk to them directly,
yeah,
not only talking to those sufferers, but the people who are alongside.
I think viewers are going to hate me for this particular answer that I'm going to give. Uh, start with it immensely starts with whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, how much you have accepted your own reality. If you have accepted your reality, then you will have the courage to stand in front of anyone and talk about that reality and honor that reality. So, for example, first time when I went through depression, I was so hassled to talk about it to anyone because everybody was advising me. Because I was not accepting my own depression. My narrative was I'm a strong person, I'm a smart person, I'm a functional person. How can I get depression? Others can get depression, not me. That was a narrative. Then, with little understanding in my second depression, the idea came to say, yeah, second time depression has come. I'm bound to get depressed. That is part of my psyche. Like how I survived first time, I'm going to learn how to survive second time. Let me see what all I'm feeling about it second time. While I did not still share about it to the circle,
Yeah.
because I was scared of being advised.
Yes.
The second time that happened. Third time when it happened, I was like, okay, I'm depressed. I'm going to accept what I can do, I cannot do. I'm going to be supremely kind to myself as I'm going through this journey without criticizing myself because I don't deserve to suffer because of my own criticism. I want to be supremely kind when I am enduring this pain for myself. Fourth time when I went through the depression, I was like, I'm kind. I'm unapologetically kind to my depression. I'm going to talk to everybody about it. If you have kindness towards me, great. If you don't have kindness towards me, it's okay. But I am going to be supremely kind to myself. So that gave me the permission to just talk about it without worrying about how others are going to respond because my sense of conviction on my depression and how this depression is here to support me and I'm here to understand this depression. That conviction gave me a lot of confidence that I could give confidence to others also, though I'm depressed. Of course, there was discomfort in many spaces, no doubt about it. But I never guarantee to anyone that I'm going to create only comfort with everyone. So, right.
Great.
So that is not my burden to carry. So this is a gradual progress. It doesn't happen in 1 year. I'm talking about a journey of 15 years within myself that has happened between me and depression. This is going to be my invitation. Can you keep changing your relationship with your migraine, where you can see that migraine as your ally? You can see that migraine as not as your enemy. That migraine is not here to push you. That migraine is here as a unconditional voice of love to tell you you are not paying attention to something to your body that you need to pay attention.
I'm sure our listeners would have been expecting a reply like, "See, husbands should take care of their wives. They could give more sympathy and empathy to them and listen to all the bullshit that what they are talking to." Right.
I wish there was a wand, magic wand I had to change
To
the world around around all of us. We don't need to change anything, but the world around us changes. No, practically that is not the way. If with one advice to all your spouses and in-laws and kids, if they will listen, we'll be in a very different world.
yeah,
We
true.
might as well work with what is doable than stay with the fantasy of something that may or may not happen.
That's often heartbreaking to listen to such statements, but that is the truth, basically.
And the more we acknowledge the truth, the more we can bring shift in our way. The more we run away from the truth, the more we are going to constantly be in that loop of suffering throughout our entire life. And
Yeah.
hence, it is up to us to decide where is the door for that suffering
Yeah.
for me to come out of it. Pain is still going to be there,
Yeah.
but we are not going to suffer.
What is a one transformational shift or a small habit that can help people go from surviving to healing?
Believing that the fact that you're already here in this world means you deserve to heal.
Great. out of this world. Like, we have been chasing people for our substances for instant gratification, like painkillers, shots, taking, drugs and all these things, even if it is for relieving your pain. But what is your sense, or what gives you hope about the future of holistic healing and emotional therapy working hand in hand for chronic pains?
Actually, I have immense hope in this space because for the first time, more than ever, I'm seeing a homeopathy doctor taking interest in Ayurvedic space, an allopathy doctor coming into the psychotherapy space, um, a biological researcher getting interested in philosophy. I think these interconnections would need to happen. Somewhere, you know, unfortunately, during our times, we will have a literature, BA literature, BCom. There will not be any stream combination. Today, there is a literature and psychology combination. There is an economics and philosophy combination. Similarly, we are not here to live with one stream. We are here to live with interconnection of streams. So my hope in this space, this is going to be gradual. This is not going to be immediate, but in long term, my hope is we are opening up because of the technology, because of AI, and because of more open conversations on these lines. More people are starting to understand this interconnections and becoming more um, open to it. They are welcoming it. So people at some point will start understanding that medicine will have to work with mind work, inner work. Inner work will have to work with probably some technology. Technology and inner work will have to be integrated with spirituality. All these interconnections, the more we bring it to the space, the more we'll be able to help people see it. And the more you become as a patient, as a common man, you become open to those possibilities, the more you'll be able to connect the dots. If you overtly depend on just one way of allopathy or one way of doing something else, it is not going to really solve the problem. So today, for me, the problem was a gynecologist did not talk about the postpartum depression.
Yeah, true.
That was a primary issue that I had at that time that started all the issues. So I'm really hoping if everybody can get excited about all possibilities and instead of believing that only their path is the true path, we will be in a better world.
And that your ENT doctor had spoken about your stress
Yes,
because of aphonia and the
correct,
voice issues that you had. Yeah.
correct. So for me, everything's, the healing started with that one doctor telling me, you don't have any problem in your body, right? So some opening that can, if it can happen on these lines, I think it would be wonderful.
That is a great learning. And you have been in the psychology space since very long years. You have been a person who came here to learn this so that you can help yourself. Then you have started your journey to heal others. You're doing psychotherapy. Please tell us more about the latest initiative that you have brought up called as Payanam, and what is the mission that you are bringing, or what is the mission that you're heading up to in Payanam?
Payanam in Tamil means a journey, right? And whatever we spoke all this while,
That is the essence
this
of
is
the
a,
complete
yeah,
interview that we are.
yes, this is a never-ending journey. Our inner journey is a never-ending journey. Whether we believe in heaven or hell, whether we believe in moksha, that doesn't matter. In this life, in this moment, in the here and now, we need to, show up in a certain way, and there is a possibility of accessing peace. For that, what needs to happen? And that is an ongoing journey, right? And that's what Payanam at the crux of it all. And Payanam is also my offering to this universe, to this world, based on what it gave me.
Okay.
So I'm giving back what universe gave me through psychotherapy, through life coaching, through spiritual psychology, um, through integrating the understanding of um, all spaces. So I am somebody who will experiment all spaces, whether it is past life regression, whether it is equine therapy, that is working with horses, or it is a meditation space from a spiritual aspect. I would look at the exploration of the interconnection between spirituality and sexuality. So all these aspects that years of seeking that I've done, whatever has come to my awareness, offering that back to the world is what Pioneer is all about.
Okay.
Second aspect is, I realized because of the connection between body, mind, and spirit, there is a way we can live this life from a soul centered space and not just from a body centered space or a mind centered space. So, Pylum is that space where beyond the logic, beyond what is seen by us and heard by us, there is something more to this universe and our existence. Many times people judge anything that is not logical. So, Pylum is a space where uh, people are being invited to learn that magic lies beyond logic. Uh, Logic is a very limited way of living life. For example, some in 2012, my logic was not helping me connect body and mind. Later on, that entire thing expanded. Similarly, for somebody who cannot see something doesn't mean something doesn't exist. How do I invite more people to start believing that nothing ends with just logic? That is fine.
Thank you. One last question before we end up this session. If pain has a voice, what do you think that it is trying to teach us?
Beautiful question. I love the question. I would say love yourself unconditionally, unapologetically. That is the one message of all pains in our body. Can you honor yourself, accept yourself, love yourself unconditionally? Because the spirit within you, the soul within you is beyond what you can imagine. So, can you accept yourself and love yourself unapologetically? Every pain leads to the same destination, and this is the destination.
Thank you so much, Veena, for being the voice of wisdom, safety, and fierce compassion that so many people need in this world right now. This was more than just a conversation. It was like a mirror, heart space and a gentle nudge. Even to me, I am taking back home so many learnings from this conversation that we just had.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me in this space, Alex. I have seen you from school days, and I have seen you grow in this space. Really happy and proud to witness how you are connecting the dots constantly through your journey and bringing it to collective space. Best wishes for taking this forward. And looking forward to listening to all the future podcasts as well. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Veena. Thank you so much. To all our listeners, if you resonate with our today's episode, I want you to know that your pain is real, but so is your power. You are not alone, and your healing doesn't have to be a solo journey. We continue to hold space, asking questions, and exploring the many paths of healing here on Heads Up. Please share this with someone who needs this message today. And until next time, keep your heads up and your hearts wide open. Thank you.